It began on a Tuesday morning, when every screen on Earth flickered to life simultaneously. Cell phones, computers, televisions, even digital billboards in Times Square, all displayed the same image. A tall, elegant figure stood against a backdrop of stars, its features smooth and almost human-like, but with skin that seemed to shimmer like polished metal. The beam spoke in perfect English, its voice echoing through millions of speakers worldwide. "People of Earth," it said, "we have watched your development for centuries. Your persistence is admirable, but your technology remains primitive. The Galactic Council has decided it is time to formally integrate your world into our community as a protected territory." Of course, in the Pentagon's main control room, General Robert Miller watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. Around him, military personnel rushed between stations, but he remained still, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips. The alien continued its speech, each word dripping with barely concealed contempt. "Your military capabilities, while impressive for a developing world, are laughably inadequate by galactic standards. A single Council patrol ship could overcome your entire defense network." The being's lips curved into what might have been a smile. "We offer you protection and guidance. The alternative would be unfortunate." In orbit, the International Space Station's crew reported seeing it. A massive vessel, easily the size of a small city, hanging against the black of space. Its surface gleamed with an iridescent sheen that made it look like a soap bubble in sunlight. Smaller ships, each still larger than anything humanity had ever launched into space, flanked it in a perfect formation. Within an hour, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as they rewatched the broadcast. The alien's final words echoed through the chamber. "You have 24 Earth hours to submit your response. Choose wisely." In Washington, D.C., President Thompson stood at the window of the Oval Office, his hands clasped behind his back. The Chief of Staff handed him report after report. Military readiness assessments, diplomatic analyses, public reaction surveys. But the President's eyes remained fixed on the patch of sky where the alien ships would be passing overhead. "Sir," his Secretary of Defense spoke up, "the public is starting to panic. We're seeing runs on stores, traffic jams as people try to leave major cities." The President turned, and to everyone's surprise, he was smiling. "Get me the secure line to Mount Cheyenne. Authorization code Thunderbolt." Around the world, similar scenes played out in other centers of power. In Beijing, Moscow, London, and Delhi, leaders reached for phones and entered codes that hadn't been used since their installation. Deep beneath the world's mountains and deserts, lights began to come on in facilities that officially didn't exist. The alien ships continued their lazy orbit, their sensors no doubt recording every radio signal, every military movement, every sign of panic on the surface below. Their commanders probably felt quite satisfied with themselves. After all, they'd done this hundreds of times before. Show up, make a show of force, accept the inevitably terrified submission of another primitive world. But they'd made a crucial mistake. In their arrogance, they'd assumed Earth's apparent technological level was genuine. They hadn't wondered why a species capable of splitting the atom and reaching their own moon had seemed to advance so slowly in the centuries since. They hadn't asked themselves why Earth's space program remained so seemingly primitive, or why human military technology appeared to develop in such strange, uneven ways. As the hours ticked by, the alien commanders watched Earth's military scramble in apparent confusion. They observed the panicked movements of civilians. They recorded the desperate diplomatic messages being broadcast on all frequencies. And deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that had taken 20 years to build, Admiral James Walker strode onto the bridge of humanity's best-kept secret. Around him, crew members took their stations with practiced efficiency. There was no panic here, no confusion. Just the quiet confidence of people who had trained for this moment their entire careers. "Status report," Walker commanded, settling into his chair. All systems green. Sir, his executive officer replied. Project Thunderbolt is ready for launch. Walker nodded, allowing himself a small smile. Let's show our guests what a primitive species can do. The elevator descended for what felt like forever. Admiral Walker watched the floor numbers tick by on the digital display. -27, -28, -29. Most people didn't know the facility went down this far. Most people didn't know the facility existed at all. At level -42, the elevator finally stopped. Walker stepped out into a brightly lit corridor that stretched ahead for nearly half a mile. The walls were lined with screens showing various technical readouts, and busy technicians moved purposefully between different sections. Admiral on deck. Someone called out. The entire corridor snapped to attention. As you were, Walker said, continuing his stride. His executive officer, Tom Reed, fell into step beside him. The ship is ready, sir, Reed reported, handing over a tablet. 20 years of development, and she's about to have her first real test. They reached a massive circular door at the end of the corridor. Walker pressed his palm against the scanner, leaned in for the retinal scan, and spoke his authorization code. The door opened with a soft hiss of hydraulics, revealing the true scale of Project Thunderbolt. The underground chamber was enormous, large enough to house several aircraft carriers. But at its center sat something that made those carriers look like toys. The ship hung suspended in a web of support structures and power feeds, its hull gleaming under the bright lights. Beautiful, isn't she? A voice said. Dr. Maria Torres, the project's lead scientist, approached them. Her gray hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept in days. We've just finished the final system checks. Walker nodded, his eyes still on the ship. Its design was unlike anything the public had ever seen. Smooth curves blended with sharp angles, creating a shape that seemed to trick the eye. The hull was covered in panels that shifted color slightly as power pulsed through the ship's systems. Show me the core, Walker said. They took a small transport pod to the ship's main entrance. Inside, the corridors were wide and well-lit, nothing like the cramped passages of traditional spacecraft. The crew moved about with practiced ease, performing their final preparations. The core room was at the heart of the ship. Through a thick observation window, Walker could see it. A sphere of pure energy, contained within multiple layers of quantum fields. It glowed with a light that seemed to come from somewhere else, somewhere beyond normal space. The aliens think we're still playing with chemical rockets, Dr. Torres said with a slight smile. They have no idea we've been collecting pieces of their technology for the past century. Every crashed scout ship, every lost probe. We learned from all of it. Then we improved on it. Walker turned to face his crew. What's the status of Thunder? A young lieutenant spoke up. The AI is fully online, sir. All tests are green. As if responding to its name, a holographic interface appeared in the center of the room. It took the form of a simple sphere of light that pulsed gently as it spoke. Good morning, Admiral. All systems are operating at optimal levels. I have analyzed the alien vessels in orbit. Their technology is approximately 30 years behind my current capabilities. That brought a smile to Walker's face. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives, but Thunder was more advanced than anything in known space. Not just because of the borrowed technology, but because of how they'd used it. While other species copied and repeated, humanity had innovated. Battle stations, Walker commanded. Throughout the ship, crews moved to their positions. In the core room, the energy sphere pulsed brighter. Sir, Reed said, checking his tablet. The alien fleet is starting their third orbital pass. They're broadcasting again, demanding our surrender. Walker settled into the command chair on the bridge, looking at the main screen showing the alien ships high above. Let them demand. In about 10 minutes, they're going to learn why you should never underestimate a primitive species. He pressed a button on his chair's arm. All hands, this is the Admiral. Initiative Thunderbolt is now active. Prepare for ascent. The ship hummed to life around them, power flowing from the mysterious core to systems that would rewrite humanity's place in the galaxy. The time for hiding was over. High above Earth, the alien fleet maintained their threatening position. On their command ship, Fleet Commander Dax watched the blue planet with growing impatience. The deadline was almost up, and still no formal surrender had arrived. "Sir," one of his officers called out, "we're detecting some kind of energy surge from the North American continent." Dax didn't even bother looking up from his status reports. Probably another one of their primitive nuclear reactors having problems. These humans are barely able to control their own technology. The mountain containing Project Thunderbolt began to move. Massive sections of rock slid apart, revealing the launch bay hidden beneath. Inside the facility's control room, technicians worked quickly to initiate the launch sequence. "All systems are go," Dr. Torres reported, her fingers flying over her console. "Opening launch doors now." Admiral Walker stood on his bridge, watching as daylight filtered down into the massive chamber for the first time. "Thunder. Status report." The AI's calm voice filled the bridge. "All systems optimal, Admiral. The alien fleet remains unaware of our true capabilities. Their scanning systems are focused on major military installations. They are not monitoring this location." Walker smiled. "Let's keep them overconfident for just a little longer. Initiate silent launch protocol." The ship rose from its underground berth without a sound. No rockets, no flame, no thunder of conventional engines. Instead, the air around the vessel seemed to bend and twist as it manipulated gravity itself. Snow on the mountainside didn't even melt as Thunderbolt emerged into the open air. On the alien command ship, an ensign suddenly sat up straight. "Sir, we have a contact. It appears to be some kind of vessel." Dax finally looked up, watching the tactical display with amusement. "Ah, so they want to show us their best weapon. How cute. Magnify the image." The screen showed Thunderbolt rising through the atmosphere. Its hull shifted colors like oil on water, making it hard for their sensors to get a clear reading. "What a primitive design," Dax laughed. "Look at those odd angles. They clearly don't understand basic space warfare principles." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their vessel with a low-power warning shot. Show them how hopeless their resistance is." But on Thunderbolt's bridge, Walker and his crew could see everything the aliens were doing. Thunder's sensors were light years ahead of anything the Council had. "They're preparing to fire, Admiral," Thunder reported. "Low-power particle beam, intended as a demonstration." Walker nodded. "Let them fire, then show them what we can do." The alien beam lanced out, a brilliant streak of energy that should have crippled any normal ship. But when it reached Thunderbolt, something impossible happened. The beam simply vanished. In his command chair, Dax leaned forward. What just happened? Where did the beam go? His science officer was frantically checking readings. "Sir, they appear to have some kind of energy absorption technology. But that's impossible. Their technological level shouldn't." "Now," Walker commanded, "Thunder, show them what a real warning shot looks like." A single point of light appeared at Thunderbolt's bow. It was tiny, almost invisible at first. Then it expanded, forming a perfect sphere of what looked like liquid starlight. "Energy gathered," Thunder reported. "Target locked. Firing solution computed." Walker stood up. "Send the message." The sphere pulsed once, and a beam of pure white energy shot toward the alien fleet. It didn't hit any ships. Instead, it passed between two of their largest vessels, then continued out into space. Where the beam traveled, space itself seemed to ripple and tear. On the alien command ship, alarms began blaring. Their sensors were registering power levels they'd never seen before. The beam had torn a hole in space-time itself, creating a miniature controlled rift that could have swallowed their entire fleet. "Impossible," Dax whispered, his arrogance finally cracking. "They're supposed to be primitives." Walker's voice crackled through their communication systems, calm and clear. This was a warning shot. The next one won't miss. Shall we discuss terms for a more equal relationship? Silence filled the space between Earth and the alien fleet. Fleet Commander Dax's face appeared on Thunderbolt's main screen, trying to hide his shock behind a mask of authority. "This is impossible," he said. "Your species was burning coal just 3 centuries ago. You cannot have this level of technology." Admiral Walker remained standing on his bridge, hands clasped behind his back. "Would you like another demonstration? Perhaps something more convincing?" Before Dax could respond, 3 warships broke from the alien fleet's formation. They were attack cruisers, each one heavily armed and armored. On a normal day, any one of them could have decimated Earth's conventional forces. "Admiral," Thunder's calm voice reported, "they are charging weapons. Multiple targeting systems are locking onto us." Walker nodded. "Let them come. Time to show them what else we can do." The alien ships opened fire. Beams of energy and streams of plasma crisscrossed space, all aimed at Thunderbolt. The Earth ship made no attempt to dodge. Instead, it just hung there, its hull shimming with that strange oil-on-water effect. Every shot hit its mark, and every shot disappeared. "Thunder," Walker commanded, "explain to our guests what just happened to their attack." The AI's voice broadcasted on all frequencies. "Your weapon's fire has been absorbed by our quantum shield matrix. The energy has been converted and stored. Would you like to see what we do with it?" Thunderbolt's hull began to glow brighter. Lines of light raced across its surface, following patterns that made no sense to the alien observers. Their sensors were going crazy, showing power readings that should have been impossible. "Sir," Tom Reed called from his station, "they're trying to scan our systems. Want me to block them?" Walker smiled. "No. Let them look. Let them see exactly what they're dealing with." The alien scan beams hit Thunderbolt's hull and reflected back, carrying with them data that made the alien scientists gasp. Quantum processors more advanced than anything they'd ever seen. Power systems that rewrote the laws of physics. And at the heart of it all, an AI that made their best computers look like children's toys. "Impossible," one of the alien scientists muttered. "They're using technologies that shouldn't exist together. The power requirements alone." Thunder's voice cut through their communications again. "Would you like a practical demonstration of our power management capabilities?" Walker nodded. "Show them." A pulse of energy shot from Thunderbolt's hull, spreading out in a visible wave. When it reached the 3 attacking cruisers, their systems simply stopped. No explosions, no damage. Their engines, weapons, and even life support just switched off. "Don't worry," Walker said to the panicking alien crews. "Your backup systems will restart in about 10 minutes. Your crews are in no danger. Consider this a lesson in humility." On his command ship, Dax was no longer trying to hide his shock. How long have you had these capabilities?" "Long enough," Walker replied. "We watched you watching us. Every time you sent a scout ship, every probe you thought crashed naturally. We were learning. But unlike you, we didn't just copy the technology. We improved it, made it our own." To demonstrate his point, Walker turned to his weapons officer. "Target their flagship's main engine with a precision strike. Minimal power." A thin beam of light shot out from Thunderbolt, no wider than a pencil. It touched the alien flagship's engine housing for just a fraction of a second. When it was done, a perfect hole had been carved through their supposedly impenetrable armor. "That," Walker said, "was less than 1% of our main weapon's power. Would you like to see what a full power shot can do?" The alien fleet's formation broke apart as ships began backing away. They had come expecting to find primitives. Instead, they had found something that turned their understanding of warfare upside down. Walker's voice carried across space one more time. "Now shall we discuss terms? As equals this time." The Galactic Council's emergency meeting chamber was in chaos. On the massive central screen, Admiral Walker's image looked down at the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. Behind him, Thunderbolt hung in space, its hull still shimmering with barely contained power. "Let me be clear," Walker said, his voice calm but firm. "Earth will not be joining you as a protectorate. In fact, we have a counter-proposal." The council leader, a tall figure with crystalline features, stepped forward. "You dare to make demands? One advanced ship does not change your species status." Walker smiled. "One ship? You assume too much. Thunder, show them." Around the world, hidden facilities began to power up. In the depths of the Mariana Trench, beneath the Sahara Desert, inside mountains, and under ice sheets, more ships awakened. Each one different, each one designed for a specific purpose, and each one more advanced than anything the Council had. "We didn't build just one ship," Walker explained as the Council watched in growing horror. "We built a fleet. We hid them where your sensors couldn't detect them. Every time you thought you were observing a primitive species struggling with basic spaceflight, we were studying you." The chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others called for negotiations. A few simply sat in stunned silence. "Impossible," the council leader shouted. "Our monitoring systems would have detected this level of technology." Dr. Torres stepped into view beside Walker. "Actually, no. We developed our technology specifically to avoid your detection methods. Every public rocket launch, every seemingly primitive satellite, they were all part of the deception. We learned from your overconfidence." On the screen behind them, more ships rose from their hidden bases. Each one represented a different breakthrough in human engineering. Some bent light around themselves. Others seemed to exist partly in other dimensions. All of them were armed with weapons that could reshape the galaxy. "For centuries," Walker continued, "we watched your council absorb other species. Those who resisted were crushed. Those who submitted became servants. We decided to take a different path." Thunder's voice joined the transmission, its calm tones spreading across the council chamber. "Analysis of council military capabilities complete. Their combined fleet strength is approximately 64.3% of our current capacity. Probability of their victory in direct conflict, 2.7%. The council leader's crystalline features seemed to pale. "What do you want?" "Simple," Walker replied. "Earth will join the Galactic Council as a full member with equal status. No protectorate, no submission, no demands for technology sharing. We keep our secrets, you keep yours, and we work together for a better galaxy." He paused, letting his next words carry weight. "But if you choose conflict instead, remember this. Every ship you see represents a different way we've learned to bend the laws of physics. Imagine what other secrets we might be keeping." The council chamber fell silent. The representatives looked at each other, then at the growing fleet of Earth ships on their screens. Ships that shouldn't exist, using technology that rewrote their understanding of what was possible. "You have 1 hour to decide," Walker said. "We'll await your response." Thunder, end transmission. The screen went dark, leaving the council in stunned silence. In the vast chamber, 1,000 representatives of 1,000 worlds faced a choice: adapt to a new reality, or risk everything in a war they now realized they might not win. On Thunderbolt's bridge, Walker turned to his crew. "And now we wait," he said. "Let's see if they're wise enough to choose peace." "Admiral," Thunder reported, "the other ships are in position. Earth's defense grid is fully active." Walker nodded, watching the stars. The next hour would change the course of human history, one way or another. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so divided. With just 30 minutes left before Earth's deadline, the representatives argued fiercely about what to do next. The massive room had split into 3 clear groups. The war faction, led by the militant Krell representative, pounded their fists on their desks. "We cannot allow this insult to stand," the Krell leader roared. "If we show weakness now, other protectorate worlds will rebel." In another section of the chamber, the peace faction gathered around the ancient librarian of the Centauri. The old alien's voice was soft, but carried wisdom earned over thousands of years. "Look at what they've accomplished in secret," he said. "Imagine what else they might be hiding. Is your pride worth risking everything?" The third group, the largest, sat in uncertain silence. They watched the council leader pace back and forth before the great window that showed Earth's fleet in the distance. Each ship gleamed like a star, a reminder of how badly they had underestimated humanity. "The humans knew about us for centuries." The council leader finally spoke. "They could have revealed themselves at any time. Instead, they waited, watched, and prepared. That shows patience, strategy, and wisdom we didn't expect." A military advisor rushed into the chamber with new reports. "We've analyzed their ship's capabilities," he announced, his voice shaking. "The weapon they demonstrated, it doesn't just damage ships, it tears holes in space itself. And that was just a warning shot." The Krell leader shot up. "Then we must strike first." Full military response. "With what ships?" The librarian asked calmly. "Half our attack fleet is already disabled. Their AI calculated our chances of victory at less than 3%. Do you think they were lying?" The council leader raised a hand for silence. On the main screen, Admiral Walker waited patiently on Thunderbolt's bridge. The human hadn't moved, hadn't shown any sign of worry. He simply waited, confident in Earth's position. "Tell me," the council leader addressed the military advisor, "what would happen if we refused their terms? If we attacked?" The advisor swallowed hard. "Based on what we've seen. Best case scenario, we lose our fleet. Worst case." He paused. "They have weapons that can tear space apart. They could cut off our trade routes, isolate our worlds, maybe even destroy the jump gates we depend on for travel." A murmur ran through the chamber. Without the jump gate network, the Council's empire would collapse. Worlds would be cut off. Economies would crumble, and chaos would spread across the galaxy. "And that's assuming they haven't hidden more weapons we don't know about," the librarian added. "They fooled our sensors for centuries. Who knows what else they've developed?" The council leader looked at the timer. 15 minutes remained. In the distance, Earth's fleet maintained their perfect formation. Not threatening, but ready. No signs of weakness, no hints of doubt. "They're not asking for our technology," the leader thought out loud. "They're not demanding reparations. They're not even asking us to leave Earth's space. They just want to be treated as equals." "Equals," the Krell leader spat. "They're barely out of their Stone Age." The librarian laughed softly. "Are they? Look again. While we watched them launch chemical rockets, they were building ships that mock our understanding of physics. While we thought they were struggling with basic AI, they created one that surpasses our best computers. Who, exactly, is primitive here?" 5 minutes remained. The council leader straightened up, decision made. Around the chamber, representatives leaned forward. "Open the channel," the leader commanded. On screen, Walker's image appeared again. "We have considered Earth's terms," the leader began. Walker nodded. "And your answer?" Behind him, Thunderbolt's hull shimmered with that impossible energy, a reminder of what rejection would mean. The council leader looked around the chamber one last time, seeing the mix of fear, anger, and resignation on alien faces. "We accept. Earth will join the council as a full member, with all rights and privileges thereof." For the first time, Walker smiled. "A wise choice. Shall we begin the new era?" 1 month after Earth joined the Galactic Council, the changes were already visible. Ships from 100 worlds filled Earth's orbit, but not as conquerors, as traders, diplomats, and curious visitors. Thunderbolt had taken its place as the flagship of Earth's now public fleet, a constant reminder of humanity's hidden strength. Admiral Walker stood in the new Earth Embassy on the Council's capital world, looking out at the alien city that spread before him. Behind him, Dr. Torres was explaining Earth's development philosophy to a group of fascinated alien scientists. "The key was thinking differently," she said. "When we found pieces of alien technology, we didn't just copy them. We asked ourselves, how can we make this better? One of the alien scientists, a being that looked like a walking crystal, raised what might have been a hand. But how did you hide it all? Our sensors. We're looking for what you expected to find. Thunder's voice came from a small projector in the room. The AI had become something of a celebrity among council technologists. Humans are very good at showing others what they want to see. In orbit above Earth, the council leader's personal ship approached the Thunderbolt. The leader had come to see humanity's achievements firsthand. Walker's executive officer, Tom Reed, now commanded the ship. It's not just about the technology, Reed explained as they toured the ship. It's about how we think. When we saw your ships watching us, we didn't panic. We planned. We prepared. Every failed rocket launch taught us something new. The council leader nodded slowly. And now, will you share your advancements with the council? Some of them, Reed replied with a smile. The same way you'll share some of yours with us. But like any sovereign species, we'll keep our secrets. That's what equals do, right? Back on Earth, changes were happening fast. Cities were being rebuilt with new technologies, but carefully maintaining Earth's unique character. Alien tourists stared in wonder at human art, music, and culture. They had expected primitives and found something far more interesting. In the Rocky Mountain facility where Thunderbolt was born, Walker stood before a new class of cadets. They would be the first generation to openly train on Earth's advanced ships. Remember, he told them, our strength isn't just in our ships or our weapons. It's in our ability to surprise, to think differently, to turn weakness into strength. The galaxy thought we were primitive, and we turned that into our greatest advantage. Thunder's hologram appeared beside him. The Council's military databases have been updated. Earth is now rated as a Class A military power. Their strategic analysts are still trying to understand how we developed our technology in such unique ways. Walker smiled. Let them wonder. Sometimes the best defense is keeping people guessing. In the council chamber, Earth's new permanent representative took her seat among the most powerful species in the galaxy. No longer at the bottom, no longer looking up at advanced races. Now humanity sat as equals, respected not just for their technology, but for their ingenuity. Above the council capital, Thunderbolt prepared for its first official mission as part of the council's peacekeeping fleet. Its hull still shimmered with that strange, beautiful energy, a reminder that humanity's path to the stars had been different from any other species. Thunder, Reed commanded from his captain's chair, set course for the outer sectors. Course set, Captain, the eye replied. The council ships are requesting permission to follow our lead. Reed looked at his crew, humans, and now a few alien exchange officers, all working together. Permission granted. Let's show them how Earth does things. As Thunderbolt led the fleet into jump space, its strange engines bending reality in ways the Council was still trying to understand, the message was clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as servants or subjects, but as innovators and equals. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how humanity wanted it.